I'm the Frugal Gardener, and today's video is going to be a little different. This is going to be somewhat of a tutorial. I got a request from a friend of mine, and it occurred to me, and probably many other longtime gardeners, that there are a lot of beginners out there, people who want to garden, but don't really have the knowledge yet. So I'm going to show just very basic, a very simple way to plant a container garden for the fall and winter. I'm showing you these small containers that I have going here. This is, well, you can see right here, lettuce is starting to come up. These are starters, and just to show you a bit more, this is Japanese radishes, and I wanted to stop here for a second because this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. If I can get out of this sun. This is my potato plant. This is, I've done a video on this already. So this is pretty much as small as you can get. This is not large at all, and yet I'm growing healthy potatoes in it. Notice that there's drainage on the side. So there's that, and moving down the line, these are more starters for collard greens, and these are actual spinach that I'm growing that will stay in here, similar to the potatoes. And these are cabbage starters that I planted not too long ago. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. This is the setup that I did for this particular video for people who want to grow in the winter. The first thing, if I can keep this wind down, is you need protection from the cold. This is definite. This is a must. If you live in a cold climate, that cold is going to come up, and just like it freezes the ground, it's going to freeze your roots. So I put this down. Got this from the dollar store. It's a tablecloth. So I used it last winter, and I think winter before last. It's a barrier. Basically protects your pot, your plant, and your roots from the cold that comes up from the ground in the wintertime. Now, you don't have to have that. This is brick. You can use that. You can use both. What I've done here is I've used a milk crate along with this tablecloth. You don't have to use both. Again, it depends on how cold your area is. I'm the Frugal Gardener, so I try to use what I have. I don't like spending a lot of money gardening. The higher up your plant is off the ground, the more success you're going to have in getting it through germination and growing and harvesting. So I've set this up already, and you can see it's a good couple of feet off the ground. And this is not going to stay here. I put this here because it was a good position for me to make this video. So you want a pot or a container that's going to be based on whatever it is you're going to grow. In other words, when I showed you over there, the spinach, the roots aren't that deep. The potatoes, you don't really need a deep pot. But if you're going to grow, most winter uh, crops that you grow are going to be leafy greens or brassicas. So we're talking about cabbage, collard greens, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, things of that nature. I'm growing pretty much all those, but I'm growing them behind me in my main garden. Now today, I'm going to grow carrots. So the first thing I have to look at is how deep the carrots are going to grow underground. I don't think the carrots are going to be taller than this container. This looks like it's over a foot, so I'm okay. Now the next thing I need to concern myself with is the soil. I don't buy expensive soil. I don't need, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but uh, a lot of companies will sell you soil with the chemicals already in it. I try and stay away from the chemicals as much as possible. And again, I'm thrifty, so I usually buy this. This is not organic, but there's not much in this. So this is roughly $2.75 a bag. I got this from Lowe's. You can get it from Amazon, uh, Home Depot, pretty much all the other big box stores. And I dump it in here. You don't have to do this. The reason why I put it in here, as a matter of fact, I usually use a bigger container, is to mix it with whatever nutrients I'm going to add to the soil, because this is, I don't want to say cheap, so I'll say inexpensive. Because it's inexpensive, you have to add some nutrients to it. The nutrients you add will be based on what it is that you're growing. This is my bag of choice for today, because this is plant food that releases over the course of a couple of months. And it says tomato, but it also says vegetable. So this is kind of a one-stop shopping for me. I put roughly a cup, I don't measure, I put basically a cup into a bag of soil, mix it up. In this case, the soil I had some coffee grounds laying around, so I put those in, and sometimes it depends on what I have. If I have granulated eggshells, I'll throw those in. But basically, for the purposes, again, of this video, I don't want to complicate things. So I'll take a bag of this topsoil. I'll mix in a cup of the plant food, and this is what you get. So the problem with what a lot of people grow in the wintertime is, especially if you're new to gardening, you cannot grow certain vegetables in the winter. You can't grow tomatoes, you can't grow peppers, you can't grow cucumbers. There's a lot of things you can't grow. Again, if you're a seasoned gardener, you know that, but if you're new to gardening, then you may not know that. Again, if you are in a warm climate, that's another story. But the thing that you definitely need to know is, if you're growing in a cold climate, I'm in 6B, Philly I believe is 6A, definitely gets cold. I spent 60 years there, so I know. Collard greens, spinach, carrots, and cabbage will survive when the temperature drops down to 20 degrees. That's below freezing. Well, the thing is, I've been doing this for a long time, and there's a caveat to that. And that caveat is, it depends on how long the temperature stays below 20 degrees. If it's for a short period of time, you're going to be fine. So what I suggest that people do is cover your pot or plant or container. Um, you can easily have 5 or 6 of these. I'm just doing this one to show you. And these are the carrots that I'm going to grow in this. But this is where your cover is going to go. I got these from Walmart. I've had these for about 5 years. Just stick them in the ground, and you put your cover over it. But now here's the thing. You don't want to just put any old cover. First of all, you want something where the light's going to get through. You want greenhouse plastic. People They throw plastic on these things, and it's just regular plastic that contractors use. And if you live in a cold climate, that's not going to cut it. So basically, you want something called greenhouse plastic. I get mine from Amazon. I'm out right now, so I'm going to have to order more. And it is 6 mil. So a couple of things I'm telling you are like, okay, no big deal. But here's a couple of things that you definitely need to remember. 6 mil is the thickness. You want to save money and buy the cheap stuff, you are most likely wasting your time because it's not going to keep the cold out. 6 mil is pretty thick. It can hold up to the weather, the snow. It will keep the cold out to a certain degree, but it will also cost you a little bit more. It's not expensive. I think it's probably around $30. I haven't checked it recently. So make sure that you get 6 mil, or at the very minimum 4 mil. And it is an investment because you'll be using this winter after winter after winter. Make sure it comes all the way down so that the air does not come up underneath and get inside. The second thing I've mentioned before, I'm going to mention it again because it's important. You want to have drainage. I have a hole here, and there's a couple, probably on the other side. Yeah, here's one here. So you have to have drainage because if you don't, and you water this bad boy, it's going to fill up on the bottom, and you're most likely going to get root rot and kill your plants. So you need to have it off the ground. You need to have drainage. You need to protect it from the elements. So that's 3 things. And the final thing is the planting. And I'm trying to do this one-handed. No, that's not going to work. Anyway, these seeds are small. I'm going to just dump a couple out so that you can see the size of them. You don't have to plant carrots. You can plant any of the things that I mentioned, and there's a few things that I didn't mention. I didn't mention there. Okay. I didn't mention lettuce, and there's a lot of other things that I didn't mention. So the last thing is, the rule of thumb is the smaller the seed, the closer to the surface you want it to be. You don't want to plant carrot seeds deep because they won't germinate. I would say 1/4 of an inch will be fine. I put them in and I just cover them over briefly a little bit, and that's it. If I was growing watermelon or something with a larger seed, I would definitely put it down 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch. But for carrots, not so much. Here's another thing that I want to bring to your attention before I wrap this up. Look at the days to harvest. 72 days to harvest. That's less than 3 months. It's October. So think about it. If you are envisioning freezing your butt off in the dead of winter, out in the snow, in the freezing cold, it's probably not going to happen if you plant this now, unless you live in Minnesota or someplace, or in Canada. You plant now, you're talking about less than 3 months. So the rest of October, November, December, by January, you know, you will be harvesting. By early January, you'll be harvesting carrots and a lot of the other plants that I mentioned. They'll take between 2 and 3 months. The one thing that I do encourage you to give a try to is red Russian kale. And the reason why is because it's super easy to grow, and it can take the cold better than a lot of the other uh, leafy greens and brassicas that I mentioned. So that's it. See, it's not complicated at all. You just want to keep this off the ground. You want to make sure that you have drainage. You want to put some nutrients in the soil. You don't want to plant your seeds too deep, and you want to make sure that it's covered. That's pretty much it, guys. So I'm going to wrap this up. If you have any questions or comments, place them below. I'll be happy to answer them. And I hope that you subscribe to the channel, because this is what I do. I mean, I have a lot of room now where I can actually garden and do things that I couldn't do before. The doggone ladybugs are out today. So I have several smaller gardens. I'm growing, that's red Russian kale over there. This is to keep the deer out. So there's a lot going on, and I am going to have to make sure that's protected. This is my work in progress right here. I'm growing broccoli and Brussels sprouts in this area here, and this is, it was covered, but I just planted the seeds in here. This is going to be covered, and this is the material. This is what I was telling you about. This is the 6 mil greenhouse material, and I'm going to put a top on that. I got to clean this up. All this is basically reused products, reused items that I brought from the other house that I'm now using. I do not recommend using grow bags in the winter, because they are made of material that's easily penetrable by the cold. But in this case, I'm going to wrap that up. I'm going to keep that covered. So again, I'm using what I have. So that's it, guys. I hope you subscribe, repost, tell your friends, and bring that little bell at the top, because there's a lot more to come. I'm the Frugal Gardener, and remember, when you grow your own food, you'll always know where it comes from. Catch you guys in a few days.